Alright, well, got some exciting news. I have bought a set of 6 brand new injectors for the excavator here. It seems that a few of them or all of them are leaking by. I've always known it just from the way it runs, the way it sounds, and the exhaust having kind of a blue tinge to it. It doesn't burn oil, so it's not from burning oil. You can smell it in the exhaust, the sort of raw diesel. But anyway, I had my mechanic buddy was over here and looked at it, and he's like, yeah, absolutely, that's what's wrong. You need to get it fixed before you start burning holes in your cylinder heads. Like, well, okay, fine. You know, I try to put this stuff off, but I'd rather fix that before I have a major engine overhaul. So it's gonna be real simple though, from the looks of it. I mean, here's your injectors right here on top. 1, 2, 3. There's one underneath here, and there's one kind of underneath here. So 6 total right there on top. Easy pickings. I'll have to take off this air intake tube, I believe, which is just bolted to the intake manifold here. And this air tube is coming actually from my it's coming from my air filters, so that's just your main intake. Obviously it's got just a hose clamp there, and then I can't tell looking here, I don't actually see what holds it in here. Probably another hose clamp, I imagine. Oh yeah, there's just a hose clamp right there. So anyway, take off those 2 air lines, and you're right there, easy pickings. Then it's just nuts and bolts on fuel lines. The new injectors that I've got didn't come with like a definitive set of crush washers or anything really, so I'm kind of wondering if it's all just supposed to be metal on metal seal. I really don't know. So whenever I go to take the first one out here, I'll be looking close to see if there's any sort of washer or anything. I specifically asked when I called Link-Belt and ordered them, you know, this is everything I need. This is a plug and play kit. It's got all the washers, O-rings, anything like that I need. He said, absolutely, it's got everything you need. Which, when I did the injectors on my old diesel pickup, it's old International IDI, when I did those injectors, those mechanical injectors, I think all those had was a copper crush washer, but otherwise just threaded in. So maybe there's a copper crush washer down inside of here as well. I don't know. We'll just figure out when we pull them. But anyway, I'm not going to work on it today, I don't think. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll get a chance after dinner, but I kind of doubt it. But anyway, just figured I'd make this little kind of preview or intro to it, since I'm out here looking at it and planning it. Okay, so we're back at it today, and you can see I've already started a little bit here, just kind of tinkering to see what needs to happen. This line is factory bent, and it's all one solid line all the way across. This blowback line. So I'm going to go ahead and take it all the way off, all the way across. Okay, so I got that common rail return line off. It's just laying over here. And I've got a varmint up here with me who I'm really don't want to fall off the top of the excavator. Yeah. Put her on my lap. And I went ahead and pulled the first injector. So once that rail's off the top, disconnect this fuel line, the supply line here, and then there's just 2 nuts on these studs. The injector itself just fits down in there pretty snug. I'm not sure if there's some grease or something like that you're supposed to put on it or not. The new ones didn't come with any sort of grease pack or anything like that. And again, I asked the dealer specifically, you know, is this a plug and play replacement? And he said it was. But now I pull the old one out, and it appears to have this O-ring rubber bushing of some sort right here around the top. And my new one does not have that. There's none in the box. So I don't know if that's something that I need to have or it's recommended to have. So I think what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to go ahead and swap all the other new injectors in, just set them down in the holes, put the nuts on loose, just so I've got things gathered and organized and I know what I've done. And then I'll try to get a hold of the dealer tomorrow and ask, am I supposed to grease or oil them of some sort? I don't really think so. I think they just set down in there nice and tight, and then those studs hold them tight. I think that's just a metal seal. So I'm really not sure what the purpose of that O-ring up top is. My helper here, sorry about that, she just kicked her own foot and then got mad about it. So anyway, that's all I'm going to do for now. I'll show you in a bit. One other thing to mention on this old injector is this copper looking washer spacer flare here at the bottom. You see, the new one does not have that, and I certainly presume that it needs it. I expected this from working with my injectors before. They use that copper spacer on injectors on my truck, but it's still mechanical injectors. That copper sort of a crush washer seal, and I know I've seen it on my injectors, and I saw it on my brakes when I worked on my truck. And without it, it will leak. So I can't imagine that they just did away with it. I'm thinking probably for whatever reason these new injectors just didn't have it on there. It's probably a special part that I have to order. You know, I probably had to request that special copper washer. I'm gonna see if I can get the old one off and maybe reuse it, but I would rather have new ones. But yeah, this is gonna definitely merit a call to the dealer first thing in the morning. So we'll just see what I can figure out for tonight. Okay, well, I got a couple of things since last time.
Are you talking to me?
I got my copper bushings. Had to go back to link belt to get those. Even though they are critical for a injector swap, they don't feel like they should include that as part of the cost of a new injector. Go figure. The dust seal O-rings that I mentioned, I asked about those and they said that is not a standard link belt component. So either it was a short-term run on this engine when they built it, or those were put in aftermarket by somebody else that had this machine and replaced the injectors at some other time, and they decided they ought to do it. Now, it just rained, go figure, so I'm trying to find somewhere dry to sit, but I want to see if we can't get back to work on this here. So we'll move our blowback line there back off to the side. And this is not going to work. I'm going to have to find something to sit on. Here we go. I will sit on my tool chests, my little tool kits. I just have to have something to keep my butt up out of the water. And y'all forgive my big melon head for being right in your way. There we go. Oh, looks like my wife's home. Now I'm going to get in trouble for working on the excavator. There's a babysitter inside that is taking care of the kids. Well, I've got one. My son's out here with me. But I'll probably get in trouble for using the babysitter to watch the kids. We'll see. Alright, so we'd stuck this injector back down in the hole just as a placeholder. So we'll pull it back out. Yeah, it's all nasty just from being in the hole for a while. Looks nasty anyway. And then we will get one of our new seats here. I'm not really sure how these things, these copper seats, see that copper fitting, it just slides on there, but when I tip it over, it's going to want to fall off. So I'm not really sure how to get it down inside the deal here other than just, of course, drop it in there and turn it upside down. So I've got to try to figure out some way to get that back out now. I kind of figured that would happen, but I figured I would try it anyway. You get me a little hook of wire I can put in there and I'll hook it and pull it back out. What a pain in the arse. I don't think I can get it with a wrench. Nope, that ain't gonna work.
Hello, is that my...
Yep, alright, let me fish it out of there and then we'll pick up. Excuse me.
Muddy.
Alright, so I got that one flipped over. Just got a piece of wire here and put a little hook on the end so I can reach down there and grab it. I got it flipped over and then I used that wire to kind of guide it back down in. So it's in there in the upright position now properly. So now we'll take our new injector and just slide it in on top. And it should.
I can see you. Daddy, what time did I take a picture?
So it'll just finds its way down through that copper.
What time did I take a picture?
Buddy.
What is that?
You're not going to take a picture of it. Don't touch it, please. Don't touch it. What? So it just finds its way down through that copper ring. So now with the new injector on, this really is pretty simple. Got our 2 lock washers to go back on here. And our 2 nuts. Go back on those studs.
You're trying to fix the excavator.
And that should be all there is to it. So I'm going to just leave that like it is for now. I guess I can go ahead and take this little rubber booty off, and I can go ahead and realign that that nut on the fuel line there.
Right there.
So the fuel line's hooked back up. And I'll come through at the end, I'll torque everything up. So let's see, buddy. Let's see if we can't get another one out. Let's see.
Look, Mama! Right on your excavator.
That's too big. That's the...
Well, I think Mommy doesn't
13.
hear me, Dad.
She heard you. She looked at us and waved. Okay.
Well,
Is that the 11? 12.
That one has your big insect.
I think I went through and broke all these already. Yeah.
Hey, Daddy, what's your
It's kind of funny to think about how much force or pressure these nuts actually hold, how strong they actually have to be. So I'll take the torque out of them there. And then, let's see,
Daddy?
I reckon it's the 17 here. Take that fuel line loose.
Daddy, that's how you turn it.
Yeah.
What's in there?
Well, this is the fuel supply line, buddy. So this is where high pressure diesel comes from the injector pump to go to the injector. So we have to disconnect that, and then we have to take these 2 bolts off. Stop taking the torque out of them, but they're still a little snug, so we'll just...
Now, was you just talking to me?
Talking to you, and I'm talking to everybody out there on the internet that watches these videos. There's people out there that watch Daddy work on his equipment, so they can learn how to work on their equipment. And Daddy does the same thing. He watches other people work on their equipment.
Well, they don't hear you when you talk quiet.
Well, not if I talk too quiet. They can't hear me if I talk too quiet.
Yes, they talk.
Okay, so the last one was kind of seized.
They hear you.
Yeah, that one's kind of seized too. So the pry bar, I try to just be real careful and just kind of wiggle around the sides. Not putting too much pressure on any one spot. Because they're all sorts of just kind of rusted and sooted up, packed off down inside there. Like I said, there's probably a special tool for this to pull injectors. I don't know that, but wouldn't surprise me.
How long have I been
There it goes. Okay, so pull that side loose.
Daddy, what's that?
They're not like rusted in there. They're just packed off, which I think is why that. That's why that dust seal makes sense. But again, Link Belt said that is not a standard component.
You did it!
So they wouldn't supply me with any. The only way that I could get them was if I just take an injector to some place that has O-rings. I figure that's all it is, just a big thick O-ring. So I just need to take it someplace that's got a kit full of O-rings and basically just try them on for size until I get one. But I haven't been carrying an injector around with me to do that.
Now they look cool up here.
It is cool up here, buddy.
Yeah, but I cannot really see everything.
Oh yeah, see there's that dust seal. It's all just dry rotted and nasty. So there's our old one. Gotta make sure you have your copper bushing, make sure it comes with it. Which I can't imagine a world where it won't, but well, I can. I can imagine that world, yes. Oh, look at there. Old mud dauber wasp comes up out of the engine while you're working on it. That's always fun.
Did you see a wasp?
Mm-hmm.
Inside your worker.
Yeah, he was down here inside the engine, buddy.
What? Did he sting everything?
Alright, so here, no, he didn't sting anybody. He just left. He just flew away. So again, here's our next brand new injector.
Daddy, did he sting everything?
Pull that little plastic cap off.
Doesn't he sting everything?
Here, y'all can see you can watch me put this copper ring in there. So I got my wire here just to have some control on it. I'm basically just dropping it in there and just trying to hold one side with the wire just to kind of keep it upright. It pretty well wants to fall properly, but these little bores are at a bit of an angle, so kind of tap it around in there till it looks like it's seated in the bottom. And I'm sure there's probably like a hone or something. Maybe I should hone the inside of these bores. But again, the inside of this bore here, where this barrel goes in, that's not part of your piston. So I don't really see any reason why you would need to clean it up other than just to do a little, you know, I don't know, 500,000 hour or 5,000 hour service or whatever you would call it, where you would just polish it just to do it. But as long as the old injector came out and the new one went in, I don't see any reason why it's really necessary to shine it up. Watch I say that, and then I won't be able to get the new one in, probably. There it goes. All right.
Hey, Daddy, I'm turning something. Hey, Dad, I'm turning something.
Okay, so there's that.
Guys, I've been bending, turning.
What are you turning, buddy?
Nothing.
You said you were turning something.
Well, I was just pretending, but
oh, you're just pretending. Okay.
Yeah, but how can I screw? I need to find something that looks like a screw.
Buddy, I don't know if you're old enough to ask me that question, but okay.
Dad, you don't have that thing.
Alrighty. We're gaining on it. I got a little concerned. I think I showed you guys replacing this one here. And I think I explained they were a little feisty. They were wanting to fight with me being tight just because they've got just rust and debris that's got down in beside them over the years. But this one here fought me the worst. This one, these first two I pried out just using like a standard like 16-inch little flat bar. And I just, you know, put the bar down here underneath the ear and it would pry against like this bolt. You don't want to pry against this because this is your glow plugs. And at one time I did. I actually pushed against this little stud here, I think. And I don't know if I bent it or really hurt anything. I don't think I did, but that's why I kind of noticed what I was doing, so I quit. But this one really fought me. I was prying on it with that flat bar and beating on it with a hammer, trying to shock it, just doing everything I could. And I was almost to the point that I was going to go order an injector puller kit, universal kit with a slide hammer. I said, well, before I buy that, let me just work down the line here and see if I can get the rest of them. Well, in doing that, I got a real pry bar, my 24-inch crowbar there, a 30-inch, whatever it is. And it was able to slip these three real quick, just having that little bit of extra leverage. I don't know if they were necessarily looser or not than this third one. But I got them all done real quick, and then I came back and I tried this one, and I was able to pop it right out of there too. So, saved myself that $180 some odd or whatever it was for that injector puller kit, which I was going to turn around. I was going to use it and then sell it to my buddy that's a mechanic because he doesn't have one. But I'm better off to just not have to buy it, period. So the new injectors are in. They look real pretty. Fuel lines are hooked back up, the supply lines. I'm going to go across the top here and pull out all of these nuts for the return line and put the return line back on, which of course takes return from all the injectors, and it returns it over here to this nut right here. Boop, that nut on top of the fuel filter. I did have to loosen this air supply line, which is just your air intake from the air filter, but for whatever reason they decided they needed to make it this rigid tube, I guess, to go across the top of the engine, not have it melt in holes. And then that rigid tube was bolted, so I had to pull two little bolts here and a bigger bolt around on the back side that goes through that hole there in this flange. So I had to unbolt that stuff just to get it out of the way. But to get my return line put back on, get that air line put back on, get my air from the turbo here to the manifold, get that put back on. You can see I just wadded up some excess paper in those holes just to keep mud daubers or something from trying to get in there and build since I've been working on this off and on for about a week. And occasionally the mud daubers will build up here inside my hood and stuff, so I just figured it's better off to block it off. So let's get all the rest of that hooked back up. We'll show you what it's looked like when it's hooked up, and then hope to God that the engine will start and run better. All right, well that's it. Return line's hooked up all the way back across the top here and back in your fuel filter. Air intake to the turbo, air out from the turbo to the air manifold. Got your vent line off the pump hooked back up. All the hose clamps are tight. I don't have any leftover parts. No washers, no bolts, no nothing. So that's always a good sign. So it's time to see if the batteries are still alive. They usually are. They're in my old injectors. They look pretty nasty, pretty cruddy. All sorts of soot built up there on the end. I'm not sure what to do with them. I don't know. Maybe there's like a market to sell them. Maybe somebody want to buy them and they can rebuild them. I don't know. Guess it's worth a shot because they aren't cheap. But let's see, hop in here and see what we can do. Nothing to it. It normally pops right off on about the third turn. It turned over for maybe 2 or 3 seconds this time. But then fired right off. It does sound different. It sounds better, I can tell. It doesn't have that. You used to be able to hear a little ticking sort of sound. And almost like a rattle. Because of how the injectors are leaking. You can hear it when it flips the idle, but that's how I originally found out. Another guy told me. He just heard an idle, he said, you got to leak the injector, right? Well, okay, whatever. And then about a couple months later, our mechanic was out here and it was running. He said, oh yeah, dude, you told me you got to leak the injector. So it sounds better now. I can't explain that sound. I kind of forgot what it sounds like, but I know it's not here now. I'm going to rev her up here and kind of let it run, work out any sort of air bubbles that might be in there, and then start the battery back up for a while, and let it pick it up cool. I guess one other thing I should have mentioned was that I would check the leaks. All my injectors, man. No leaks. No leaks on the supply, no leaks on the return. Everything's dry and good, superb, happy.